Louisville, Kentucky, 1967. The air was thick with tension as Muhammad Ali, born Cassius Clay, found himself at the center of a national controversy. Having recently refused to be drafted into the U.S. Army during the Vietnam War, citing his religious beliefs, Ali had been stripped of his heavyweight title and faced widespread criticism from the American public. His famous declaration, "I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong," had transformed him from a celebrated athlete into a polarizing figure overnight. On this particular autumn evening, Ali sat in his modest home, surrounded by a small circle of trusted advisors and friends. The telephone rang, cutting through their hushed conversation. His manager answered, his expression shifting from curiosity to disbelief as he listened to the caller. If this story has already made you feel something, however small, don't leave without giving back. Comment and tell me where you're watching this video from and subscribe to the channel. "Muhammad, there's someone who wants to meet with you," his manager said, covering the receiver with his hand. "Says it's urgent and private. A businessman named William Harrington." Ali raised an eyebrow. "Harrington? Never heard of him. What does he want?" He wouldn't say exactly, just that it involves an opportunity that could change everything for you during these difficult times. 2 days later, Muhammad Ali found himself seated in the private dining room of one of Louisville's most exclusive restaurants. Across from him sat William Harrington, a man whose name frequently appeared in financial newspapers and whose fortune had been built through steel manufacturing and real estate developments throughout the American Midwest. Harrington was 62 years old, with silver hair meticulously combed back, wearing a custom-tailored suit that spoke of wealth without needing to announce it. His weathered face showed the lines of a man who had spent decades making difficult decisions and living with their consequences. "Mr. Ali," Harrington began after they had exchanged brief pleasantries and the waiter had left them alone. "I'll come straight to the point. I admire you. Not many men would sacrifice everything for their principles as you have done." Ali studied the older man carefully, unsure where this conversation was heading. "I appreciate that, Mr. Harrington, but I suspect you didn't invite me here just to tell me that." "No, I didn't." Harrington took a sip of water, gathering his thoughts. "I have a proposition for you, one that would secure your financial future and possibly restore your standing in the eyes of many Americans." "I'm listening." Harrington leaned forward, lowering his voice despite their privacy. "My daughter Elizabeth has expressed great admiration for you, not just for your athletic achievements, but for your courage in standing up for your beliefs." Ali nodded slowly, still uncertain of the direction of this conversation. "Elizabeth is 23, educated at Vassar, beautiful and intelligent. She has a mind of her own, always has." Harrington paused, his fingers tapping lightly on the tablecloth. "She has asked me to arrange this meeting because she wishes to offer herself in marriage to you." The words hung in the air between them. Ali's expression remained composed, though his eyes betrayed his surprise. "Mr. Harrington," Ali finally said, "I'm not sure I understand what you're proposing." "It's quite straightforward, Mr. Ali. My daughter wishes to marry you. I am prepared to provide a dowry of $2 million, which would be yours, regardless of how long the marriage lasts. Additionally, I would use my considerable influence to help restore your boxing license and public image." Ali sat back in his chair, momentarily speechless. After several seconds of silence, he asked, "And why would your daughter want to marry a man she's never met?" Harrington's expression tightened slightly. "Elizabeth has unconventional views. She believes your marriage would make a powerful statement about race relations in America. She's been involved in civil rights causes since college, much to the dismay of her mother and our social circle. So this would be what? A political statement? A publicity stunt?" Elizabeth sees it as much more than that. She genuinely admires you and believes you could build something meaningful together. Harrington hesitated. I won't pretend I was immediately supportive of her wishes, but she is determined, and I've learned over the years that my daughter usually gets what she wants. Ali's eyes narrowed. And what do you get out of this arrangement, Mr. Harrington? My daughter's happiness, he replied without hesitation. And perhaps, in some small way, a chance to be on the right side of history. 1 week later, Muhammad Ali found himself walking through the imposing gates of the Harrington estate in Lexington, Kentucky. The sprawling 20-acre property featured manicured gardens, a private lake, and a main house that resembled a European chateau more than an American home. A Filipino butler greeted him at the door, leading him through marble-floored hallways, adorned with original artwork and antiques that had likely been in the Harrington family for generations. William Harrington's wealth was on full display here, from the Rolls-Royce parked in the circular driveway to the gold-plated fixtures in the guest bathroom where Ali washed his hands. This was old money, the kind of wealth that had been accumulated over decades and carefully preserved through strategic marriages and business deals. In the sunlit conservatory at the back of the house, Elizabeth Harrington waited. She stood as Ali entered, revealing herself to be tall and slender, with chestnut hair falling in soft waves past her shoulders. Her features were delicate but determined, and she met Ali's gaze directly, something he noticed immediately. "Mr. Ali," she said, extending her hand, "I'm Elizabeth Harrington. Thank you for coming." Her handshake was firm, her voice educated and confident. She wore a simple but obviously expensive dress, and the only jewelry she displayed was a pair of pearl earrings and a platinum watch that Ali recognized as a Patek Philippe, worth more than most people's annual salary. "Miss Harrington," Ali replied, taking her hand briefly, "your father made an interesting proposition. I thought I should hear it directly from you." Elizabeth gestured toward the plush velvet sofa. "Please sit down. Would you like some tea, or perhaps something stronger?" "Tea is fine," Ali said, taking a seat while maintaining his composure. As the private household staff, consisting of a housekeeper who had been with the family for 20 years and a young assistant, served Darjeeling tea in hand-painted Chinese porcelain cups worth thousands of dollars each, Elizabeth studied Ali with unabashed interest. "I imagine you think I'm crazy," she said once they were alone, a slight smile playing at her lips. "The thought had crossed my mind," Ali admitted. "Most people don't propose marriage to someone they've never met. Most people live their entire lives without taking a single meaningful risk," Elizabeth countered. She set her teacup down on the marble-topped side table. "My father probably presented this as some sort of rebellious phase or political statement, something like that." "It's more than that." Elizabeth leaned forward slightly. "Mr. Ali, Muhammad," he corrected. "Muhammad," she continued, "I've followed your career and your stand against the draft. When most men would have compromised their principles for comfort and acclaim, you chose to sacrifice everything. That kind of courage is rare." Ali watched her carefully. "Admiration is not a foundation for marriage, Miss Harrington." "Elizabeth," she insisted, "and you're right, but it could be a beginning." She paused, choosing her words deliberately. "My father's offer, the money, the influence, those are his additions. My interest in you is genuine." "Your father mentioned $2 million, Ali said bluntly. "That's a lot of money to purchase a son-in-law." Elizabeth didn't flinch at his directness. "The money is irrelevant to me. I have my own trust fund worth considerably more than what my father offered you. The yacht moored in Newport alone is valued at $6 million. She spoke about these enormous sums casually, as someone who had grown up surrounded by extraordinary wealth. "This isn't about money." "Then what is it about?" "Change," she said simply. "America is at a crossroads. The civil rights movement, the war, women's liberation, everything is shifting. But real change doesn't happen through protests alone. Sometimes it takes something more personal. Ali raised an eyebrow. And you think our marriage would change America? I think it would force many people to confront their prejudices, including my parents' friends, who sit in their country clubs discussing the Negro problem over martinis, while their investment portfolios grow from wars they'll never fight in. There was an edge to her voice that suggested her privileged upbringing had not sheltered her from developing a critical view of her own social class. So I would be a weapon in your social revolution? Ali asked, not unkindly. Elizabeth smiled. No, you're already a revolutionary in your own right. I would be your ally. For the next month, Muhammad Ali and Elizabeth Harrington met several times, sometimes at her family's estate, sometimes at more neutral locations. Their conversations ranged from politics to religion, from philosophy to personal dreams. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, they discovered unexpected common ground in their determination to live by their principles. On a crisp December afternoon, they walked together through Central Park in New York City. Elizabeth wore a custom-designed mink coat that had been a gift from her godmother, the wife of a prominent New York banking executive. Around her neck hung a diamond pendant that caught the winter sunlight, sending prisms of light dancing across the front of Ali's wool overcoat. My father's associates are getting nervous, Elizabeth said, as they followed a winding path past the frozen pond. The chairman of Harrington Steel called personally to express his concerns about our friendship. Ali nodded, unsurprised. And your father? He's torn. Part of him regrets ever making the offer. Another part is impressed by you, though he'd never admit it publicly. She adjusted her leather gloves, which had been handmade in Italy. Mother is threatening to disinherit me. She says I'm throwing away my future and disgracing the family name. Are you? Ali asked quietly. Elizabeth stopped walking and turned to face him directly. My future was predetermined since birth. Marry someone from my social circle, preferably with an Ivy League education and family connections dating back to the Mayflower. Have exactly 2 children, join the right committees, and support the right charities. Die having never made a single decision that wasn't approved by people I don't even respect. And what about love? Ali asked. Marriage should be about love, not making political statements or rebelling against your parents. Elizabeth's expression softened. I'm not proposing a loveless marriage, Muhammad. I'm proposing we give ourselves the chance to discover if love might grow between us. They continued walking, passing a group of children building a snowman. One of the children recognized Ali and pointed excitedly, whispering to his friends. You realize what you'd be giving up, Ali said after acknowledging the children with a wave. Your world isn't ready for this. My world, Elizabeth replied, needs this more than it knows. Later that evening, Ali sat alone in his hotel suite, contemplating the decision before him. On the coffee table lay several newspaper clippings about his ongoing legal battle to regain his boxing license. His financial situation, while not desperate, was increasingly precarious as legal fees mounted and income opportunities dwindled. The telephone rang, interrupting his thoughts. Muhammad? It's Herbert. Herbert Muhammad, son of Nation of Islam leader Elijah Muhammad, had become Ali's manager after his conversion to Islam. Herbert. What's the news? I've been making calls all day. The boxing commission isn't budging, and that interview you gave last week didn't help matters. They're using your words against you, saying you're unpatriotic. Ali sighed. I spoke my truth. I always do. I know. Herbert paused. Listen, there's something else. People are talking about you and this white woman, the millionaire's daughter, Elizabeth Harrington. Yes, Brother Elijah is concerned. He believes this relationship could damage your standing within the nation. And frankly, many of your supporters might see it as a betrayal. Ali was silent for a long moment. I haven't made any decisions yet. Just be careful, Mohammed. The Harringtons move in powerful circles. William Harrington sits on boards with men who influence government policy. His closest friends include senators and industry leaders who control media networks. His wife's family owns half the real estate in Boston. These people aren't accustomed to being denied what they want. Are you suggesting Elizabeth's interest isn't genuine? I'm suggesting you consider all possibilities. $2 million is a small price for them to pay if there's something else at stake. After ending the call, Ali walked to the window, looking out at the New York skyline. His reflection stared back at him, and behind it, the lights of a city, divided by race, class, and opportunity. 3 days before Christmas, Ali arrived at the Harrington estate for what would be his final meeting with the family. Snow blanketed the grounds, transforming the property into something resembling a winter palace from a fairy tale. Holiday decorations adorned every corner of the mansion. Imported ornaments from Europe decorated a 15-foot Norwegian spruce in the main hall, while poinsettias flown in from Hawaii added splashes of red throughout the rooms. William Harrington greeted him in his private study, a wood-paneled room filled with leather-bound books and hunting trophies. A fire crackled in the marble fireplace, and the scent of expensive cigars hung in the air. "Mohammed," Harrington said, offering his hand, "thank you for coming. Elizabeth will join us shortly. Her mother has finally agreed to meet you as well." Ali nodded, accepting the handshake. "Mr. Harrington, before they arrive, I'd like to speak with you privately." Harrington gestured toward a leather armchair. "Of course. Brandy?" "No, thank you." Harrington poured himself a glass from a crystal decanter that had once belonged to a European monarch, a gift from a business associate with connections to royal auction houses. He settled into his chair, regarding Ali with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "I've given a lot of thought to your proposition," Ali began, "and to my conversations with Elizabeth." "And?" Harrington prompted when Ali paused. "I won't be marrying your daughter." Harrington's expression remained carefully neutral, though Ali thought he detected a flicker of relief in the older man's eyes. "May I ask why? Elizabeth will be disappointed." "I believe she'll understand my reasons," Ali replied. "Your daughter is remarkable, intelligent, passionate, genuine. In different circumstances, perhaps we could have built something meaningful together. But a marriage should be based on more than admiration or a shared desire for social change. It should be rooted in love that has grown naturally, not arranged like a business merger or a political alliance." Harrington nodded slowly, swirling the amber liquid in his glass. "I respect your decision. The money is still available to you, if that would help with your legal troubles. No strings attached." Ali smiled slightly. "That's generous, but I must decline. My fight must be won on its own merits, not purchased." The door opened, and Elizabeth entered, followed by her mother, a slender woman with carefully preserved beauty and a rigid posture that spoke of generations of finishing school training. She wore a designer dress that Ali recognized from magazine. Advertisements and diamonds sparkled at her throat and ears. "Mohammed," Elizabeth said warmly, then noticed the atmosphere in the room. "What's happened?" Ali stood. "Elizabeth, Mrs. Harrington, thank you for welcoming me into your home." Mrs. Harrington merely inclined her head slightly, her expression remaining coldly polite. "I came today to tell you in person that while I deeply respect your courage and your convictions, Elizabeth, I cannot accept your proposal of marriage." Elizabeth's eyes searched his. "Because of the pressure from your religious community or from my parents. Because neither of us should enter a marriage for reasons beyond ourselves, no matter how noble those reasons might be." "I told you he was a man of principle," William Harrington said quietly to his wife. Elizabeth stepped closer to Ali. "What about what's developing between us? The connection we've been building?" "That's real," Ali acknowledged. "And in another time, another place, perhaps it could grow into something more. But right now, both our lives are in transition. My fight to reclaim my career and stand by my principles must be my focus. And you're just beginning to define yourself apart from your family's expectations." Mrs. Harrington spoke for the first time, her voice cultured and controlled. "Elizabeth, perhaps Mr. Ali is right. You have your whole life ahead of you. This phase has made your point." Elizabeth shot her mother a look that could have frozen flame. "This isn't a phase, Mother." "No," Ali agreed. "It's a beginning, just not the one you imagined." In the weeks that followed, news of the almost marriage between Muhammad Ali and the daughter of millionaire industrialist William Harrington leaked to the press. The story shocked America, generating headlines that reflected the nation's deep racial divisions. Some praised Ali's decision as principled, while others suggested more sinister motives from both parties. What few people knew was that Elizabeth Harrington used her considerable inheritance to establish one of the first major foundations dedicated to providing legal support to conscientious objectors and civil rights activists. Though she and Ali never married, they maintained a friendship that lasted decades, united by their shared commitment to following their consciences regardless of the cost. As for Muhammad Ali, his battle continued. In 1971, the Supreme Court would unanimously overturn his conviction for refusing the draft, vindicating his stance. He would reclaim his heavyweight title, fighting his way back to the top without compromising his principles or accepting financial bailouts from would-be benefactors. America would never forget the white millionaire who offered his daughter in marriage to Muhammad Ali, nor would they forget the dignity and integrity with which Ali declined. If you made it this far and felt every word, don't leave without subscribing. I tell these stories with my heart in my hand to reach people like you who feel, who get emotional, who live. If this truly touched you, give back, comment, subscribe. Come be part of this family with me until the next video.